As the days passed, I noticed something changing inside me. I didn't feel that sharp pain in my chest every time I thought about the vacation. It was still there, but it was softer now, like a bruise that had started to heal. I stopped checking for messages that were never coming. I stopped waiting for apologies that were never going to be said. Instead, I started giving myself the things I used to wait for from others: kindness, time, and understanding. I was still learning, but for once I wasn't stuck. I was slowly moving forward. One quiet Sunday, my dad came home a bit earlier than usual. He sat on the couch and called out to me. I didn't expect that. It had been weeks since we had a real conversation. I walked into the living room, unsure what he wanted. He looked tired, like the weight of something heavy was sitting on his shoulders. He said, "You've been quiet lately." I just nodded. Then he added, "I know you were hurt about the trip." I didn't know how to fix it. That was the first time he admitted anything. It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was something. I looked at him and said, "It's not about fixing it. It's about not being okay with it in the first place." My voice didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just said the truth. He looked away for a moment and then said, "They didn't want drama. They thought you'd make things tense." That hurt even more than I expected. I didn't even get a chance to prove them wrong. I wasn't even invited to speak for myself. I had already been judged and pushed aside. But I didn't yell. I just said, I didn't need to be perfect. I just wanted to be included. And then I walked back to my room. I sat on my bed afterward, feeling heavy. But this time, the heaviness wasn't from confusion. It was from clarity. I finally knew where I stood. I finally knew what they thought. And now I had a choice. I could keep chasing after a place where I was barely tolerated, or I could keep building a space where I was accepted fully. It still hurt, but now I had the strength to make that choice. I thought of Maya, I thought of the cafe, I thought of my notebook, and the book that made me feel understood. Those were the places where I felt real. That night, I wrote in my notebook again. I wrote, "I'm not broken. I'm just beginning again." I let that sentence sit on the page like a soft whisper to my future self. I didn't know where this new path would lead me, but I knew I had already walked through one of the hardest parts, and I had survived it. My heart had been tested, my trust had been shaken, but I was still here, still choosing love, still choosing to grow, and maybe that was the bravest thing I had ever done. The next week, I decided to make a small change. I printed out one of the pages from my notebook and taped it to my bedroom wall. It said, "You don't need to be chosen by others to choose yourself." I wanted to see those words every day, to remind myself that I didn't have to wait for someone to make me feel worthy. I had the power to do that for myself. It felt strange at first, talking to myself with that kind of love, but I knew it was important. No one else had done it for me, so now it was my turn. I also started doing more things on my own. I went to a movie by myself, something I'd never done before. I sat in the theater, surrounded by couples and families, but I didn't feel awkward. I had popcorn, a drink, and a story playing in front of me. I laughed when the movie was funny. I felt sad when the scene was emotional. And when the lights came on, I walked out feeling proud. I had shown up for myself, even in a place where most people go with someone else. That night, I wrote, "I am learning to enjoy my own company." Maya continued to be a big part of my healing. She never pushed me to talk when I didn't feel like it, but she always made space for me when I needed it. One afternoon, she invited me to a small dinner with a few of her friends. At first, I was nervous. I didn't know them. I was afraid I would feel like an outsider again. But she said, "Just come. Be yourself." And I did. Her friends were warm, funny, and kind. No one asked heavy questions. We just laughed, shared food, and talked about simple things. I felt included without having to try so hard. After that night, something shifted in me. I realized that family doesn't always mean the people you're born into. Sometimes it's the people who choose you and show up again and again, the ones who care, even when they don't have to. I still loved my family, but I stopped making them the center of my world. Love doesn't have to come from one place. It can come from friends, from quiet moments, from kind strangers, and even from within. That understanding gave me peace. It gave me the power to stop begging for what I already deserved. One morning, while walking through the park, I saw a little girl trying to fly a kite. She kept running, and the kite kept falling, but she didn't give up. She laughed, picked it up, and tried again. I stood there watching her, and it made me smile. It reminded me of myself. I had fallen too, many times, but I'd also stood up again. I was still learning how to fly. And now, I was doing it not to impress anyone or earn love, but because I believed I deserved to soar. I walked away with a light heart, whispering to myself, keep going. One evening, while I was at the cafe reading my book, I noticed someone standing near the door, hesitating. It was my cousin, one of the people who had gone on the vacation. I froze for a second. She saw me and gave a small wave, like she wasn't sure if I'd wave back. I felt a swirl of emotions: surprise, anger, sadness, but also curiosity. She walked over slowly and asked if she could sit. I nodded. I didn't feel ready, but I also didn't want to run away from this moment. I closed my book and waited to see what she had to say. She looked nervous, playing with her bracelet, and said, "I know you were hurt. I should have said something sooner." I stayed quiet. I wanted her to speak without me guiding her. She continued, "Everyone just went along with the plan. No one really asked why you weren't invited. We didn't want to cause a fight, and that was wrong. I was wrong." Her words felt real, not perfect, but honest. I listened, not because I was ready to forgive, but because I had waited so long to be acknowledged. That part of me still wanted to be seen, and she was finally seeing me. I told her, it wasn't just about the vacation. It was about what it showed me, that I didn't matter enough to be included or even told the truth. She nodded, eyes full of guilt. "I know," she said, "and I hate that it took this long for me to say it." We sat in silence for a while. Then she said something I didn't expect. "You don't have to forgive me right away. I just wanted to say sorry, face to face." That honesty meant something to me. Not everything was fixed, but a small door opened, a little crack of healing in a place I thought was completely closed. After she left, I sat there for a long time just thinking. I didn't know if I could ever feel the same about the family again. But I also knew that people can grow. People can change. And even if I chose not to go back, I could still let go of some of the weight I'd been carrying. I wasn't holding on to the pain because I wanted to. It had become part of me. But maybe now I could begin to set it down, one small piece at a time. I didn't need everything to be perfect. I just needed it to stop hurting so much. That night, I wrote in my notebook, "Forgiveness doesn't mean going back. Sometimes it just means letting go so I can move forward." And for the first time, I believed it. I didn't feel weak for softening my heart. I felt stronger than ever. It takes strength to speak your truth. It takes strength to face the people who hurt you, and it takes even more strength to walk away with your peace still in your hands. I was doing all of that. I was building a new life, not with anger or revenge, but with hope and care. And that was something to be proud of. A few days later, I got a message from my mom. It was short, just a few words. "Hope you're okay. Maybe we can talk soon." My heart felt strange reading it. For weeks, there had been nothing but silence. Now, out of nowhere, she wanted to talk. I didn't reply right away. I needed to think. I'd spent so much time hoping she would reach out, but now that she did, I didn't know how I felt. Part of me was glad. Another part was scared to be hurt again. I sat with those feelings for a while, not rushing myself. I finally answered the next day. I said, "I'm okay. We can talk when the time feels right." It was honest and calm. I wasn't angry. I wasn't begging. I was just setting a boundary for myself. She replied with a heart emoji and said, "Let me know when you're ready." That simple message felt like a shift. For once, I was not the one chasing the conversation. I was not the one trying to fix everything. I had taken back some control, and that felt powerful. I realized that healing isn't always about having one big talk. Sometimes it's just about knowing you have the choice to speak or not. In the meantime, I kept doing the things that brought me peace. I went back to the bookstore and bought another book. I tried a new kind of tea at the cafe. I joined a small art class Maya told me about. It wasn't about becoming a great artist. It was about doing something just for myself. The first time I picked up a brush, I felt awkward. But as the paint touched the paper, I smiled. It didn't matter if it looked good. What mattered was how it made me feel. Free, focused, calm. It was a new way of letting my heart speak. Maya cheered me on every step of the way. She told me, "I love seeing you come back to life." That made me think, had I really lost myself before? Maybe not completely,